There are a few situations where somebody can adopt a child in Nevada, and the procedure is relatively simple. So, in situations where you're dealing with welfare agency, foster homes, adopting through placement, they have very specific procedures, requirements for home studies, and things like that. But we're going to talk about situations where someone who is adopting is actually related, closely related to that child. So this would be step parents, grandparents, siblings. And so the rules on adopting for people who are within a few degrees of relationship, family relationship to the child, they can go in and adopt relatively easily through just filing with the court without any requirements that someone go into a home study and things like that. Now, the situation with why they're adopting can vary greatly on what you need to meet. So if you have a child whose one parent or both parents have passed away, then adding a step parent to replace the deceased parent, relatively simple procedure to do that. If you have a parent who is still alive, still has parental rights, then you either need to get them to relinquish their rights, which if they're willing to do that is a relatively simple procedure. They have to sign a form, notarize, 2 witnesses. It certainly needs to meet stringent requirements so that we know that person is actually relinquishing their parental rights. But if they do sign that, then that relinquishment can simply be included in the adoption proceedings, and you can add a step parent or other close family member adopting in place of that person who relinquished their rights. If you have a situation of a child who has not had paternity established, then that's a little bit harder situation. If there is no parent who's ever been involved, anything like that, it would be wise to go in and terminate the parental rights of that unknown person. But if it is a known person, then and they're not agreeing to sign off on a relinquishment, then you would have to actually go to court and file to terminate their parental rights before you could proceed with an adoption of that child. That's something that can happen. You go to court, you get the termination of parental rights order, and then you file an adoption after that. But certainly the decision on whether or not to terminate parental rights is up to the judge. And here they call it the civil death penalty. So it's not something that they're going to grant super easily unless all the elements are met. Now, adoption proceedings are private. So when they get filed, it's not something that you provide notice to anyone else other than the very specifically affected people, like the people who are actually adopting. And it's a closed private proceeding. And so it's not something that people can access records very easily to it. And there's also a very limited ability for someone to challenge an adoption on appeal, although there is a statute that allows for it, certain people to challenge an adoption. There's still a very short time period, and it's very difficult to do. So adoptions by step parents, by grandparents, and close family members can be a somewhat streamlined, relatively easy process if you have a deceased parent or a parent who's relinquished rights, and if you've obtained an order terminated the parental rights of one of the parents or both of the parents as well.